was that something you were able to apply to other areas of your life? That kind of like discipline of just showing up even when it doesn't go how you think?
I think the biggest thing that comes to mind with that question, or the most obvious thing that jumps out to me, is my practice, my business here. We'll fast forward a little. I guess we'll revisit a couple of these things, but this practice was born through necessity for me. The months, or I guess the year and a half leading up to me opening up this office, I was disabled from an injury that I suffered at a weightlifting competition. So I ended up I feel like the height of my career. Maybe some people would be able to argue that I was already peaked, but at the height of my career, I dislocated my shoulder pretty terribly. And the socket of my ball and socket joint was fractured.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when it dislocated forwards. So when that happens, you dislocate forward and down, it fractured a piece of that socket off.
Wow.
And then when it dislocates, it's not just going to hang out in space, right? It dislocates and it slams back. So not only did I have a fracture in the socket, I now have and still have a permanent indentation on the ball and socket joint. Because the muscles of the posterior cuff now pull with great force my ball into the socket, right?
Oh wow. Yeah.
So when it was 2 out of the 3 surgeons said that I will never lift a weight over my head. The 3rd surgeon, which is a surgeon I chose to go with because he said this. He said, "Oh yeah, I see this all the time." At that time, I think he was downplaying it.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, you'll be able to train, no problem."
Okay.
But he happened to be the authority in this type of surgery. He works with the Angels, and he also worked with the Kings at the time.
Okay.
So he's done a surgery. He's done shoulder surgeries for days.
All the time.
He's the best surgeon in Orange County. And however, this was an 18-month long recovery.
That's wow. That's a long time.
And my reason for even bringing this story up was that during those 18 months, I wasn't working, and I had a lot of time during those 18 months to myself to be able to formulate a business plan and to look for the resources and to think of something that I think would work as a clinic. And fast forward 18 months and there's this clinic here, and what I learned from weightlifting is that, again, there's got to be some semblance of perseverance. And during the first, I would say, 6 months of my office opening, I think I had like 2 patients a day. Like 5 to 6 days a week, 2 patients a day, and I was kind of like having a lot of shitty days in a row. Where I wasn't seeing anybody. It was me and Kilo. Kilo's my dog. Here, just kind of hanging out. We would take a lot of long walks.
Give me a little insight inside the mind of what it took to come back from injury, and what was the most difficult about that.
Oh boy.
I know this is a hard one.
I don't know. I knew this question was coming, and I knew you were going to ask me this question, and you and I have gotten personal. I think I've told you a little bit about my recovery process and what it took to get back from injury. I felt like I was just reaching my physical maturity. How old was I? I was 28. Oh, bro.
What?
No, that was like 26.
Oh, okay.
27.
Oh, not that far off. A year?
No, 27.
Okay.
I was taken out of my sport due to a very devastating injury, and not only that, I was like in my first year of being a chiropractor too. And the shoulder injury, not only, like, if you were to ask me at that time, "Hey Simon, what do you do?" Like, if you're vague like that and you didn't specifically ask me about what I did for work, my first answer would be like, "Oh, I'm a weightlifter." And then be like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a chiropractor." As like a secondary,
a
secondary identity. It's more like, I first identified as a weightlifter.
Gotcha.
And my secondary identification was, I'm a chiropractor too. Whereas now I'm a chiropractor and, I guess a weightlifter too, right? But at the time, I identified mostly with being a weightlifter. And, when those orthopedic surgeons told me that I was never going to be able to compete again, and even coming out of my surgery, not knowing whether or not I was going to be able to compete again was very, very devastating. And there'd be so many days and times where, I allowed myself to sit in that hole, sit in that very, very dark place. And there have been times where I have contemplated at that time suicide. And because I felt, I don't know if anybody were to look at my situation and think to themselves that I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but at the time, weightlifting was my world. Weightlifting was the only thing I knew, and really the only thing that I stuck with for that amount of time, the only thing that I ever really got good at. And this injury took me away from that. And I didn't know anything else. And I felt like everything that I have done and I worked for up until that moment I hurt myself now was all for nothing. On top of that, I didn't know whether or not I would be able to return to my career, my secondary career at the time, as a chiropractor. And those two very definitive identities that I had were all of a sudden gone. And if I was training, I was training like 12 hours a week at that time, sometimes 2 times a day, and I was working all the other times of my awake hours.
Yeah.
And you do something like that for, any amount of time. And now you're no longer able to do it. You go from 40 hours a week to doing it 0 hours a week. Not by choice, but due to an injury, due to circumstance. And all of a sudden, you're in a very, very dark place. My therapist recommended I get a therapy dog, an emotional support dog, right? And so she is a certified and licensed psychiatric support animal. And she's saved my life on more than one occasion, and she continued to do so every single day of my life. The thing that really kept me from doing what I ultimately didn't do was getting a sense of purpose back. And at the time when I did get Kilo, like I said, I didn't have a purpose, but when I got her, I no longer wanted to take care of myself. And I no longer felt like it was something I wanted to do or whatever. And I think that is the definition, or a big reason why sometimes people want to commit suicide. I didn't really feel like I was worth my effort anymore, right? But when she came into my life, I didn't want to neglect her. So I remember being in my sling. It's like I dislocated my shoulder in April, so for the months of, I think, May, for the month of May, it was hot as balls. And I would walk my ass an hour and a half from my apartment to my gym, train for 2 hours, and I'll tell you what my training consisted of at the time, and then walk my ass back to the apartment. And team training always happened in the afternoon. I think it was from 12 to 2. And I would walk to the gym, say hi to my teammates, and tuck myself into a corner and do pistol squats for 2 hours straight. And I would do that and watch my teammates train and watch my teammates do what I wanted to do. And I just remember having to take breaks, not from it wasn't hurting my legs. I just at the time, when I at the top of my career, I was squatting all kinds of weight.
All kinds of weight.
But I had to take breaks because I couldn't watch my teammates do what I wanted to do. Not because I was selfish or I was hating on them, but
That's
because
hard,
that was the only thing I wanted to get back to doing. And like, I wouldn't say a word to any of my teammates, you know. They would come to me and they'd be like, yo, Simon, I see what you're going through, you know, it's this and that, it's, you know, your story is very motivating, I'm inspired, this and that. And little did they know, I wasn't there to help them. I was there so they could help me. I can't say that I came through it with grace, because there were times where I was not graceful at all. I stumbled a lot along the way. But if you're injured, and if you can find some way to come through it and be at the end of it with some semblance of grace, sanity, you will feel unbeatable. Because any other obstacle or any other hardship that will come at you and come your way after that hardship, you're gonna be like, that ain't shit. Because
it's nothing.
Right. It's like if you've climbed Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, that ain't shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you will then rely on the strength that you know you've gathered by overcoming a huge obstacle to overcome smaller ones, or seemingly smaller ones too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I feel like I took from it, you know? It was a huge kind of mental breakdown on my part. Obviously, it was a very huge physical breakdown on my part. But I can confidently say that I've come through it on top, and I think, you know, it is a blessing, because now, whenever I have like some hiccups at work, or whenever I have hiccups in my training now, I can rely on the strength that I did gather and I still have from that very extremely difficult part time in my life. I don't know, have you had experiences yourself where you've had to grind through something that you hate, and almost kind of, I like to think of it like this: sometimes you got to dig a hole in order for you to grow a tree, right?
Build something.
Yeah, sometimes you got to almost sit in that hole for a second too, and understand where you're at in order for you to dig out of it, dig it out, right? Or dig your way out of that.
Yeah.
You know, so what are some examples that you've had in your life where you've been like, man, this shit sucks. I wish I wasn't here right now. But because I do see the overall general love that I do have for whatever it is, I'm gonna tough it out and figure it out.
Man, that's a hard question, man. I haven't prepared for my answers. I think I haven't gotten to a point like that yet in my career, mainly because I haven't gone off on my own yet and done a whole lot of stuff. I mean, that time will probably come, but I know just in general, the kind of overarching, I would say, obstacle, like you were talking about with weightlifting, of showing up and having those bad days, has been when people say that you can't do something, like having all the people around you say that you can't do something, and having to keep doing it. And I'm kind of getting to the point now where I can stick it to those people, which I actually really enjoy.
Wait,
because
can you be more specific? What are some things that people have told you in the past that you can't do?
I mean, kind of some specifics would be like making a living from coaching would be one. Like, you're never going to be able to do that. The second one would be really anything bodybuilding related. I mean, it's kind of funny.
You've had people tell you that you can't be a bodybuilder, like you're too scrawny or whatever. I saw.
Not even that. I mean, I can see that. But I mean, people who are just like, oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Of like people who are constantly trying to bring you down because you're doing something that you want. That's not up to their expectation, you know. Okay. So for me, it's more of like having, more often than not, more people say that I can't do something than I can.
The general consensus that it's very difficult to make it as far as like a living as a bodybuilder.
I mean, if you're just doing bodybuilding, then yeah. But I mean, if you really have to have like a business around it where like you're able to promote stuff, you're able to show your value to people, you're able to like coach people as well, where there's multiple aspects of it. If you just do bodybuilding and you're just doing competing, you're not going to make any money. Like, you need to be able to, you need to be able to market yourself. I mean, if you just did weightlifting.
Oh, there's no money.
Yeah, see?
There's no glory or money in weightlifting.
I mean,
Who's the last weightlifter you know? Like me.
Yeah, that guy. But, I mean, it is what you make it with anything. I mean, if it is something you truly care about, you can model something around that and make it happen. But you have to have multiple avenues to explore, you know? I think the common denominator between Sal's video and this video, be a student, keep learning.
Have a student mindset. Never be so kind of blindly confident in yourself that you feel your way is the best way. Because your way is an effective way, probably, no doubt about it, because whatever you're doing is getting you the results, right? But there can be a possibility that another way is slightly better, and if not slightly better, similar in effectiveness is what you're doing. But if you take whatever they're doing and implement it into your own training program, then your training program is that much better for it, right? But if you have this kind of like blind confidence, like, no, whatever you're doing is bullshit, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to give yourself a lot of the gains that you will get.
Yeah. We almost went the whole video without saying gains. Can we just notice that?
Shit!
We have to have buzzwords
Dude, bro.
to not say. Dude, bro,
Thick.
gains, thick.
Full. What is it? Swole. Big.
And on that note, I think it's time to end. Hopefully you guys got something useful from our talk with Simon today. A lot of kind of the common denominators that I'm seeing between Sal and this video is keep being a student, keep learning. Don't ever be afraid to admit you don't know something, and just perseverance, man. Like, even when it's hard, just keep pushing through. Sal talked about that a little bit, but
Trust in the process. Growth is never linear. Growth is a regression line.
Yep. Just keep pushing through those bad days. But other than that, you guys know where to find me. David T. Fisher, Instagram. I put a lot of content on there for you guys. If you have anything specific you would like to see, leave it in the comments below. I can answer that for you. And Simon, if you guys want more of him, his practice in Fullerton, Ideal Body Chiropractic. I've learned a lot from him. I keep coming to him here. Other than that, what's your Instagram? Is it Quads Like Kuang now?
Quads Like Kuang. That's more of a personal Instagram. So you want to, which I don't really post to.
Okay.
But if you want to find out more about my practice, it's idealbodychiro.com. That's us.
And that's it. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.
See ya. Kilo cleans. Watch. Hey, don't growl at me. Whoa.
She doesn't like that, huh?
She hates this shit.
Oh.
Look at her face.
Look at her arm, her legs.
Oh, it's okay.